You're listening to I Love It When, and I'm your host, Mo. I'm a speaker, coach, and connector. You're in the right place if you're looking for some inspiration and you're ready to truly embrace who you are. My intention with this podcast is to help you see that you are so much more powerful than you realize. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of I Love It When. I'm your host, Mo, and today I'm so excited to introduce you to Dr. Kaye Brundidge. Oh my gosh, you guys, this episode, every time I don't know how they can get better, and they continue to. I was honored to meet Kaye through my friend Enmay Mangles, who, if you've been watching this podcast or listening to it, you know she was the first person I had on the podcast. I actually had the opportunity to have a concert at my house one time with Demir, who is a sound energy healer / singer from Sedona. And so Kaye ended up coming to the concert. And as soon as I met her, I was interested in having her on the podcast. Well, I don't even want to go straight to her bio yet, but I'm having her on the podcast because she's been an anesthesiologist for 25 years, and she's now moving into energy medicine full time in her own business. And I just find she's got so much value, so much knowledge, such a fabulous energy to bring to you, the audience, and just to the world. I wanted to have her on. So here's the 411 on Kaye. I'm the go-to medical doctor who offers specialized, insider-level pre-surgery coaching tailored for the incredibly busy superwoman. My role is to provide invaluable insights and intuitive support to ensure optimal surgical outcomes. I specialize in informing and comforting terrified patients before surgery so that they are informed about the process and have confidence and a calm mental state conducive to safe and effective process of surgery and anesthesia. So in this episode today, we talk about what drew her to become an anesthesiologist in the first place. She explains, kind of gives her definition of energy medicine and how she shares it with people, how she found herself using her intuition and just knowing things in the hospital rooms, why she named her business Oshun Energy Medicine, and how you can work with Kaye if you have an upcoming surgery or you're interested in her energy healing sessions. So I can't wait for you to hear this episode. Enjoy. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of I Love It When. I am so excited for all of you today to meet Kaye Brundidge. She's with us today on the podcast, and she is a wealth of knowledge. So, Kaye, thank you so much for saying yes to me. And can you start off by just sharing a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Well, my name's Dr. Kaye Brundidge. I am an anesthesiologist and also an energy intuitive. I have been an energy intuitive my whole life. I didn't even know what it was called when things would happen and I would see things and tell people about things. But it's one of those things that talent actually has helped me in my medical practice.
Mm.
I have been an anesthesiologist for over 25 years. And I have to say, during the hardest times and the times that were most stressful and patients on the edge, it was that little knowing, that little intuition that really helped me get through those hard spots and go beyond even the training and experience that I had to help me kind of find my way out of impossible situations. So at this point in my life, I'm kind of trying to go the other way and take all of that experience and everything I learned as an anesthesiologist and really meld it with the energy work and also introduce people to the reality that all of us have this intuition and it's a divine gift to all of us as human beings and that we're actually better using both things together. It's not
Mhm.
either or, it's both and.
Mhm. Oh my gosh. I was telling for everybody that's listening, I was telling Kaye before we started that so excited to interview her and get to share her with all of you guys that are listening because I love the bridge that you're building with the work that you've done in Western medicine and now moving over to energy medicine and kind of explaining to people the benefits of integrating that into their process if they have to get surgery, or just like you just shared about intuition, how everybody has this gift and how they can integrate it into the world. So what led you to be an anesthesiologist in the first place? What kind of led you down that road?
Yeah, it was really interesting. I entered medical school thinking that I was going to go into pediatrics and then discovered that, yeah, hurting kids, it was just, yeah, I cannot do this. I can't. And it was at that point, something said, just go with the flow and see what you liked. Well, it turned out I liked being in the operating room. It's
Hmm.
like, okay, so what do you like? Well, do I like surgery? Not really. And then I found I was hanging out with the anesthesiologist when I was in medical school, and I took a rotation in anesthesiology because I hadn't met anyone who was an anesthesiologist, really didn't know what it was all about. And that rotation in my third year of medical school, actually third year going into the fourth year, actually hooked me because it involved hands-on, it involved a lot of on your feet thinking and decision making. It involved pretty much every medical specialty, a little bit of it that you could think of, because you see patients with every medical problem known. And so you really have to know how to manage it, how to think on your feet, um, be able to make decisions and actually just kind of stay calm and kind of even tempered when everything may be going to chaos with around you. So it was just one of those processes that I loved everything about it. It was just really real. It's like, it was unexpected, very much unexpected, but I, again, have learned with go with your gut, go with what feels good, go with what is making you happy. And
Hmm.
happy to, as a medical student, it was just very enjoyable. So,
Makes sense. I love that, following your joy and following what feels good. Do you feel
yes.
like, were you aware of your intuition, and did it speak to you before you were a doctor, or do you feel like it really started to spike when you were in that place?
It actually spoke to me when I was a kid because I know that I was a conundrum for my parents because I would go up to them and say, "Person this, they have this going on and they shouldn't go on whatever trip they were on because they're going to get sick. They're going to get really, really sick." And my parents would look at me like, "Okay." And then, days to weeks later, we get the story back. And so it was one of those situations, and I don't think that there was anyone in the family that I knew about
Hmm.
directly who would have this pre-knowledge of things that were going to happen. And it was one of these situations where a- after I got to a certain age, I realized it was making everybody really scary. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll just stop doing it. And it was for a long period of time, it just went away. It was quiet, and it was almost like when I went into medicine, everything started knocking on the door again. And it was just like, yeah, you can still do that. You still have this talent of knowing when something is going to happen and when someone is going to have a complication. And I used it once I got into medical practice to help me take care of patients.
Hmm.
So it was one of
Wow.
the things that I didn't feel like, such the really unusual freak show person.
Hmm.
And it actually helped me. I didn't talk a lot about it.
Hmm.
I probably had a lot of experiences seeing as people who are deemed as psychics. Well, they're just weird and they're just making this up. And I'm like, I just want to keep that at kind of arm's distance. But whatever I have going on, it's different. So,
Hmm.
so it really took a lot of time and people talking to me saying, "Okay, this is natural for you. And this is fine. This is not anything to be afraid of
Hmm.
because you're helping people. This is a positive thing that you're doing." So it took me a while to get comfortable with being a little bit different because you
Hmm.
are a little bit different, but
Hmm.
at the same time, we're all a little bit different and we
Hmm.
all have different qualities and capabilities that set us apart.
Hmm.
And as human beings, we're all kind of here together and we're
Hmm.
all kind of playing for the same team. I guess that's how I look at it.
Hmm.
I reached the point that I was happy and confident in my abilities and saying, well, if I wasn't supposed to use this or have this, I wouldn't have it. So I
Hmm.
should be happy and use it for what good I can. And that's how I always thought of it. That's how I always used it.
Hmm. How would you say, how did you build your confidence in it? Because it sounds like you were starting to get feedback from people like, hey, this is a good thing. You're helping people. Did you find, because I've had to do this for myself where I actually have in my phone a note called the miracle list, and I track the different miracles that happen for me from small to large every day because my logical brain needed to like look back and say, oh yeah, this is how I've been supported, or this is how my gift showed up, and this is how I helped someone. How did you do that for yourself to get to the point where you could, like what you're doing now, start your own business around it?
I reached a point that I just started having conversations
Okay.
with my guides, my higher being, and they would say, yeah, this is good. And or I would say, if this is something that I'm supposed to be doing, I wish you would let me know. And
Hmm.
I had some pretty amazing encounters with eagles. It was just like there were times when literally eagles, hawks was just flying right at me, and I'm like, gotcha. And I think it was more a matter of me having confidence that, yeah, this is real. What's going on with you? This is real. You're not imagining this. You're not making this up.
Hmm.
And as they say, when you're ready to go further, then I started running into people who were teachers, and I started running into opportunities to learn more about using the intuition and the other gifts that I have. So when I was ready, that's when everything happened. So it was very interesting because it was a slower process. I mean, I know there are people who have been intuitives and use their intuitive gifts
Hmm.
for 20, 25 years. Other than using it, kind of taking care of patients in medicine,
Hmm.
this business is a big leap into the unknown,
Hmm.
but I feel good about it. I feel like, yeah, this is the right thing for you right now.
That's
So, yeah,
amazing.
very excited about doing it.
How did it show up for you when you were working with patients in the hospital? How did you begin to utilize it for people, like pre-surgery or during, or how did it show up for you in that way?
Sometimes I would look at patients and I would know this is going to be a tough case and
Okay.
this patient is going to have a problem. Or I would get, let's see, in the middle of an anesthetic, I would get a nudge that you need to be alert. Something is about to go down. I mean, it was just this knowing that
Hmm.
something was going to happen. And I have to say, pretty much 100% yes. I mean, and we're not talking little things. I mean, all kind of stuff can happen as a result of a surgery that's either planned surgery or something that's an emergency. And I I have to say that, when I needed to act, I did what I needed to do. And sometimes it it seemed like I had information that was beyond what I would ordinarily know just by looking at the monitors and everything else that was
Hmm.
going
Hmm.
on. And, I would step back after everything had passed and go, okay, what happened? You know, so it was, the times that it happened to an extreme degree where there was some huge emergency, those are the things that you worry about.
Hmm.
But I reached a point that I realized that I relied on it so much just in ordinary care of patients because I would always seem to know the right thing to say to a particular patient. It's
Hmm.
like I'd get no one has ever talked to me like that. And I
Hmm.
feel really, I've talked to you now. I was really scared before. I'm really comfortable. I'm very happy that we had this
Hmm.
conversation. And yes, I know everything is going to go right now. So it was just realizing that okay, what you have, this is a gift.
Hmm.
And so that's how I always regarded it, as a gift. And um I guess out of everything, I always wanted to be grateful. Number
Hmm.
one, that I had the opportunity to help people,
Hmm.
and also grateful that I was acknowledging this gift, because gifts go two ways. When you don't acknowledge something,
Yeah.
um, it's almost like a rejection in a sense. And
Hmm.
I realized that, okay, you're on this earth for a purpose, and you don't get to know what that purpose is. But if you're here, let's be the best you and give in the way that you can, that maybe no one else can. And that
Hmm.
involves using intuitive gifts and helping my patients and just trying to be the best version of myself that I could. So that's just, I don't know, that's just how I look at it.
Hmm.
Um and that's the kind of, I guess, responsiveness, positivity, joy that I try to bring um, to taking care of my patients. And then as I've grown and as I've learned other energetic techniques,
Hmm.
kind of infuse that same joy as I'm doing that work as well.
Love it. How did you find when you would follow these nudges pre-surgery or whenever it would happen? How did your colleagues respond? Did you ever have conversations about it, or did you find that other people, like other people you were working with, would utilize their intuition as well, or is it just depend on the person? And
It was really dependent on the person,
okay,
because I have to tell you, talking about intuition
yeah,
and it's not something that is, shall we say, encouraged
hmm,
medicine. I think that while there may be an awareness, that it's not something that's talked about that openly.
okay,
When I talked about these experiences, it was definitely not with medical people. A
okay,
lot of it was, I noticed things were happening, and I talk about it with people outside who are more in the energetic community.
hmm,
Um, because I had a lot of instances where I would look at a patient and go, "Oh, they're gonna have a problem." And I would try to talk to some of my colleagues, and they're like, "Well, yeah, we're gonna be fine." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll just back off." And some of them would come up later and go, you know, you were right about that patient." And I would just say, I hope they're doing well, and I hope they will continue to do well.
hmm,
And so, it because at that point, that's all I could do.
hmm,
So, I think it I think in some medical communities, in some medical centers, it's more open, because I know
hmm,
people who've gone places like Harvard, Mass General, and who are intuitive, and it's very well received. I think it really
okay,
depends on the environment.
okay,
If there are other people who are like-minded around. For
hmm,
whatever reason, I was in a lot of places where there didn't seem to be a lot of like-minded people around. So
okay,
it was a little difficult from that
hmm,
point, and it was not something that I talked about a lot at work. I
hmm,
I had people outside of work that I could share it with, and I did so. But wasn't something that I talked about a lot with work at work.
yeah. I'm getting excited the more people that I meet through this podcast and through different things where I can see how we're almost to the point, we're not quite there yet, where it's almost going to be talked about more, but I can see the resistance still. I One of the women I interviewed on the podcast was a nurse, and she has left to become full-time sound healer. And we were talking about how cool would it be if sound healing was welcome in all the hospitals, where they could come in and like clear the space after a patient leaves to clear the energy. And I was like, revolutionary. I never had thought about that before. Like, I'm sure there is stuck energy in all places in the hospital where sound healing and other, like if they were to bring in a whole crew of energy healers to just clear the hospital even once a year, it would probably be a game changer. Um, yeah.
It would. And it's so funny that you mentioned this because this was actually the point that I realized that I was going to need to start to transition out of work in the hospital because in addition to being a physician, I'm a musician. I was a music major in college, and music has always been very integral to my life
Okay.
and still is.
Hmm.
And I realized that it's not just noise at the hospital, it's dissonance. There's a lot of energetic input in hospitals.
Mm.
And I reached a point with all of my protective energetic shielding, everything that I was doing, it reached a point that I was being drained. And it is definitely possible to be drained by continual bombardment with negative energies. And absolutely, sound baths would be wonderful. And that would be
Mm.
one of the things that I would tell my patients. It's like, if this place is getting to you, get some music that you like to listen and put some earbuds on so you can drown out some of this stuff that's going on.
Hmm.
Because, yeah, there is energetic input that happens. And
Hmm.
as I became more sensitive energetically, I could feel it when I walk in the hospital. And it's like, wow, this
Hmm.
is this is really pretty amazing. And yeah, I think that they would help a lot of people if
Hmm.
they would employ just simple energetic techniques to clear the space and raise the vibration in an area.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I
who knows?
totally I resonate with what you said about the more sensitive and aware you become of energy, the more you can recognize, like you said, dissonance when you enter a space, or it's really clear. Yeah. How do you explain energy medicine to someone who has no exposure to it, but they're interested or curious about what you do?
I tell them that we are all energetic beings. We are made up. This is like my favorite Carl Sagan saying, we're made up of star stuff. We're made up of energy. And we can manipulate energetic fields. And the thing that I tell people just so that they can understand basic energy, I'm like, rub your hands together.
Yes.
Rub your hands together.
Yeah.
Here, rub your hands together, rub your hands together, rub your hand, bring your hands out. Everybody feels that tingling in your hand and bring
Yes. I
your
love that.
hands together. And
Hmm.
you can, and it's like you can feel that. There,
Yeah.
there,
You can't deny it.
yeah, you cannot deny it. So all energy work is manipulating the energetic field that each of us has and using that energetic field to affect healing. It's really simple. It's not anything esoteric. It's very
Yeah.
and I think indigenous peoples have known
Hmm.
for centuries
Hmm.
and known how to manipulate that energy and known how to use natural remedies. You know, years ago it was, chew a leaf, see what happens,
Yeah.
and use that in addition to using laying on of hands and hand generated energies to heal people. So what I tell people that energy healing or Reiki is about, because that's the particular energetic tradition that I'm a part of, is Reiki.
Okay.
It's about energy. It's about the energy of life
Hmm.
that is within all of us. And that is what is employed using certain techniques that we learn as we learn the traditions of Reiki and how to apply them. And that is what we use when we're doing energetics. So it is just a manipulation of the energy that's there and getting training in how to access universal energy as well as maintaining a groundedness to the earth.
Mm.
So it's about being grounded as well as being open to universal energies that are there that we're basically just a straw for. I tell
Hmm.
people you're doing Reiki.
That's a
You're
good visual.
Yeah, you're a glorified straw. It's not like you're, this is me and all of my energy. No, you are a conduit for the
Yeah.
energy that's out there, the divine energy that is there, that is doing the work. And you're straw. You sit there and you are open to the energies and grounded as well.
Hmm.
And it's very much an interactive thing because it's a consent thing. It's not like you can just go
Hmm.
up to somebody and go, yeah, I'm just going to push some energy at. No, it's a consent. Everything is about consent for
Hmm.
the person who is participating in the receipt of the energy as well as the person that's giving it. So it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
It really is.
Hey, I'm popping in for a moment to let you know that if you're interested in working with me one on one in a small group, or you'd like to attend one of my upcoming retreats, please reach out or add yourself to my email list. You can go to iloveitwhen.org and scroll to the bottom where you'll see there's a spot to sign up. I also love to speak, teach, and create experiences for small, medium, or large size companies. If you know someone that I should know, please connect us. I'm looking to utilize I Love It When to create global change, and that will require collaborating with all of you. You're all so much more powerful than you realize. Remind yourself of that today. Can you talk a little bit about? So I know that part of your business is you offer like a pre-surgery, post-surgery coaching and guidance for people. What are some of the tips that you like? What are some things that you tell people as they're going into surgery to help them kind of gear up for it mentally, emotionally,
What
energetically?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I tell people is have a positive intention of where you want to end up.
Okay.
Fear, yeah, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety, but
Hmm.
what you focus on expands. And so I tell people when you get into it's like the doom scrolling thing on your device. You start doom scrolling, you look at bad stuff, you can find more bad stuff, more things to scare you. It's the
Hmm.
same thing with our brain and intention.
Hmm.
And if you get in fight or flight mode and you're just geared up and anxious, it's not the best place to be in when you're going to go and have a surgery because
Hmm.
you can generate enough negative, fearful energies that something that you fear about will happen. And I
Hmm.
tell people that, and they look at me. I'm like, haven't you ever imagined the best outcome that you could have for a day? And you get up in the morning and you go, I'm just going to have a fabulous day. Things are going to go well.
Hmm.
It's going to be a glorious day. And then lo and behold, it turns out to be a glorious day. So it's about intention. So the
Yeah.
biggest thing that I try to communicate with my patients before surgery is have a positive attitude.
Hmm.
Think that your surgeon, your care team, everybody's going to have the absolute best day possible in taking care of you. And you're going to have the best possible result and everything is going to go well. And the biggest thing I tell people is to breathe. Because the first thing that everybody forgets to do is, and they tense up and they don't breathe. I'm like, no, no, guys, nothing happens if we don't breathe.
Hmm.
We don't happen if we don't breathe. So, probably the first thing I try with people who are really, really upset is I try something as simple as box breathing, where you take an inhale for 2 beats and you hold that inhale, and then you exhale over 2 beats and you
Hmm.
hold the exhale. So, box breathing, and it's something there's YouTube videos on it. Um, Really simple to do, and it's something to calm people down. And that's where I start. I
Hmm.
really start with getting people to breathe, and then I get them to focus on a desired outcome rather than perseverating in, oh my God, this is going to go wrong. No, I want people to
Yeah.
focus on a positive outcome. And then the part that I bring that's from Western medicine is after seeing countless surgeries for 25 years, I know the things that are important to know and the things that are important to ask. So
Hmm.
part of it, I actually generate a document for my clients so that they can take in and make sure that they ask their doctor
Oh, that's
this.
awesome.
the important things, because these
Mhm.
days everybody is busy. Medical personnel are shorthanded all over after everything that went on in 2020. Shorthanded, short
Mhm.
staffed. They have to be efficient in and out. And if you're not asking the right questions, you don't necessarily get the right answer. So at least
Mhm.
I try from a factual point to say, okay, these are the things that you should find out. This is not all you need to know, but this is a starting point with your surgeon so that your surgeon sees, oh, okay, they actually do know a little bit about what is ahead of them. And so we
Okay.
can communicate, and I can convey information that's needed. They want this information so we can work together because it's all like a teamwork thing. You know,
Mhm.
if your surgeon does his best to provide the procedure that you need, everybody has a role to play. And your role is to think positively about the outcome, set positive intentions, follow whatever instructions, and try to be clear about what you're supposed to do so
Mhm.
that you do have the best chance of having a positive outcome. But the
Mhm.
biggest tool you have is right up here. It's your
Mhm.
brain. And getting that mindset in a most positive stance is one of the best things that you can ever do.
Mhm. I so love that you start off by talking to people about intention because I know that for myself and the clients that I work with now too, but even just looking at my journey, I didn't realize how powerful intention was. And when I talk to clients now, I recognize that when we wake up, most of the time we're led to think like, what can I do to prevent something bad from happening today? Or like we go down this path of like thinking about possible consequences and all the negative ones rather than starting out thinking, well, what's the most amazing thing that could happen today? And
Yeah.
it's such a shift in energy. I don't think people realize how powerful it is and that it really does impact. So I love that you start off there. Um, how do you work with people? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, what I was gonna say, and I said that's the thing I like about your podcast of
Oh,
wouldn't
thank you.
it be wonderful if, wouldn't it be
Hmm.
fabulous if? That is
Hmm.
such a wonderful frame to start with
Hmm.
in terms of
Oh,
setting.
thank you.
Yeah,
Well,
so
it's all due. I mean, that the name and the intention, everything's all due to Enmei, who's our mutual friend. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's I really believe in the creation piece that like you've said basically like as humans we're all here together and I believe that when if we all bring our energy together with that creation in mind of what we want to have happen, what's the best idea that we could have happen on this earth, and I think we can really accomplish some really huge things together with that framework. So I love that you do that for your patients. What are now if people are listening and watching and they're like, well, I want to work with Kay, but I don't have any surgeries coming up. What are some other ways that you work with people through your business?
I do energy work. I do
Okay.
energy work as far as Reiki interventions and healing. I also work with people for intention setting because sometimes even
Okay.
outside of a surgery, um, people think, I'm kind of stuck in my life. Where
Mhm.
can I go from here? And I do work with people with being able to set intentions and to change the focus and to
Okay.
be able to actually listen to your intuition, to listen to any divine input, any input that you are getting from your guides, because it's not something I think necessarily that's talked about in a way that's accessible
Yeah.
to a lot of
Yeah.
people. And I've always been told that I have a way of explaining things so that it's really approachable and yet informative at the same time.
Hmm.
So again, I try to use that as a skill and communicate that, yeah, this is something that is possible because we all have this potential within us. And
Hmm.
I don't know, I just think that if we're operating from a standpoint of, I want to operate to achieve the best and highest outcome,
Hmm.
there's no limit to what you can do. There really
Hmm.
is. I mean, it's something that if we all come and we bring our A game, wow. I mean, that would just be something absolutely fabulous that would come as a result of it. I mean,
Yeah.
it is very much a sense of what you give your attention to grows. And
Mhm.
we've got a lot of conditioning as a people, as a culture, that we tend to focus on the bad stuff. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, can we leave bad stuff alone? I'm not saying that you operate in a sense of denial, but let's focus on there being another alternative. Let's
Mhm.
focus on there being a positive aspect to issues that you have going on.
Mhm.
And when I teach people that, yeah, looking at it from a positive standpoint, it's always going to get you further than looking at it from a negative standpoint. And,
Mhm.
and the thing that I tell people a lot is that gratitude, actually, gratitude is something that opens the whole doors of the universe. Being grateful.
Mhm.
Just very simple, you know, I'm grateful I have this day on earth. What can I do with this valuable, precious day on earth that will bring joy, happiness, positivity?
Yeah.
Yeah, intention may make the world go round, as one of my teachers said, but gratitude is the thing that opens the doors of the universe for everybody.
I love that. You're reminding me of there's been a couple times in the last year. I mean, this happens. I think people are always surprised when I talk about when I have a low moment, but I'm like, no, I'm human just like all of you. And I have these moments where I find myself spiraling. And so sometimes I'll go on a gratitude walk where I just gratitude the entire way. It might be 30 minutes, might be an hour. And I'm going through like, I'm grateful for my arms. I'm grateful for my legs. I'm grateful for my fingers. I'm grateful for, and the shift you can again cause in your energy when you do that. I used to think like, oh, it's so simple. How could that really do anything? But when you actually take the steps to do it, it's yes, it's simple and it actually works.
Does. It does.
Yeah.
And it's especially if you're going through challenging times and,
Hmm.
surgery definitely challenging, but people go through challenging times all the time. So
Hmm.
it's good to know that the things that work when you're having surgery also work in everyday life to
Hmm.
make life flow a little bit easily and for you to change your attitude and your focus about it too.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Can you share a little bit about why you named your business? Is it Oshun? Did I
Yes,
pronounce it correctly? Oshun Energy. Uh,
right.
how did you come to that name?
Well, one of the things that I have been doing for years now is Afro-Brazilian dance.
Okay.
Um, Dance for me um, is something that's very grounding. It's very gratifying, and Afro-Brazilian dance in particular is a very culturally grounding thing. A lot of us, and I say a lot of African American people, we know nothing about our cultural background
Hmm.
because of the circumstances that led to us being here.
Hmm.
And I wanted to find a way to connect with whatever ancestral energies were out there
Hmm.
so that I felt that not only is this dance something that I enjoy doing, but this is something that allows me to connect with those that went on before me. And I kind of discovered it by accident. Started dancing samba because I always wanted to do that, and then discovered Afro Brazilian dance. And it was a real cultural eye opener for me. So, one of the things that was of interest to me were traditional religions that were practiced in Africa.
Hmm.
As a part of these religions, they have nature deities that have a variety of names and manifestations. They have a nature deity of the ocean, they have a nature deity for the fresh waters, and the name of my business is the name of the the deity of the fresh waters, who is named Oshun.
Cool.
And it was something that um through a quite transformative process that I went through with the help of another energetic worker. I was made to know that, yeah, one of the people who's protecting you is called Oshun. I've never heard of this Oshun person. Oh my goodness, because at that point, I was very much familiar with Afro-Brazilian dance
Okay.
and knew who Oshun was, and I was like, "Oh my goodness. This is somebody huge, like, they know little me, they know me," and so it was one of those things that I was shocked at,
Mhm.
and I talked to my teachers about it, and they're like, "Well, if she has picked you, she has picked you, and it is something that is an honor, and we will
Mhm.
help you grow with this." And so, as I grew into the dance and learned more about the culture and the traditions, and I realized this is why I want to name my business
Mhm.
after this nature deity who is the protectress of humankind, and she's the goddess of beauty, love, sensuality, but also she's a fierce warrior to protect and care for humankind. And I talked to my teachers and I told them what I wanted to do. I said, "Is this something that you think is acceptable?" Because, you get concerned about cultural appropriation.
Mhm.
I'm not Brazilian, but
Mhm.
these traditions spoke to me. They were grounding.
Mhm.
Ultimately, the traditions trace back to West Africa. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't being offensive to anyone, but at the same time,
Mhm.
there was this connection that I could feel very strongly. And I wanted to check with my teachers and make sure that this was acceptable. And they said, absolutely. This is something that brings light not only to the tradition, but
Mhm.
honors your ancestors. So, absolutely, we're in favor of it. So, that's where the word Oshun came from. And the peacock that is part of my logo is one of her sacred birds. The other is a
Oh,
vulture.
wow.
Yeah, so it's a
Okay.
peacock vulture. I have been to Salvador Bahia, Brazil, which is the heart of Afro-Brazilian culture. And I have to tell you, the vultures are around. They're beautiful.
Oh,
They're
wow.
they are beautiful, and yeah, it is a fabulous, fabulous place where this culture is woven into life. It is Afro-Brazilian culture. It's a part of everyday life and the nature deities, and it's like there's a whole list of them that I'm
Mhm.
not going to go into here, but yeah, it is a part of everyday life, and it's something that again, I'm trying to do my best to do honor and respect to the traditions and
Mhm.
also at the same time bring my flair with medicine and this energy work and letting people know that yeah, this is something that is real and it's something that's helpful
Mhm.
and um just use it to help people live a better life. But yeah, that's how I got the name, came up with the name.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love that so much. I definitely resonate with, and it's something I don't think I've talked about this actually specifically on this podcast yet, but I had a deity show up in a meditation to start to want to work with me, whose name is Thoth. He's an Egyptian god. And it happened about a year ago now almost. And so it's just been something I've been exploring, but I think uh it's been it's amazing to I had that kind of similar reaction to you, like, what? He wants to work with me? He wants to support me? Oh my gosh, what? And it's such a I think it's such a beautiful thing that the way that your business has evolved and that you've embraced all these different parts of yourself, because it's so brave. I mean, it's so brave and it's so needed. And at the same time, I have found, at least for myself too, that it's brought me more joy than I've felt in my life in such a long time to be fully, embracing my energy, embracing who I am and sharing it. And I can see you doing that. And it's really cool to watch. So thank you for sharing all of that.
Sure. It is an ongoing joy for me. One of the things that just happened a couple of days ago, actually, in on Saturday, is that we had a performance that was Afro-Brazilian dance and West African dance. So
Oh,
it was
wow.
one of the first times I got a chance to perform, not just.
What was that like?
Oh, it was amazing. I'd never been on a stage before to do dance. And it was just after all of the months of work to bring it to life,
Hmm.
it was just pure joy. It was just absolute pure joy. And I just that feeling that I had that, wow, I've done my best to embody this through dance. It was just priceless. It was.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, was your energy focused right now in your business? And for people that are listening, if they want to reach out to you and work with you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
I've got a website. As you said, the name of the business is Oshun Energy Medicine. So I'm online, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm doing social media, kind of doing a little changes right now. The next phase of things is I'm going to start doing some video shorts. So there's a
Cool.
YouTube channel that's going to come. I'll probably start doing video shorts on my social media platforms. Initially, I do have a newsletter that comes out once a month, and I
Okay.
try to talk um, and I'm blogging as well. And in addition to posting a blog from the month or a month before, I come out with health tips. It's been a rough cold and flu season, so this past newsletter in January, I talked a lot about these are things that you can do to help support your immune system.
Okay.
And because a lot of my focus is on supporting women, because working women in this country need more support. I mean, because
Hmm.
working women are frequently taking care of multiple generations, not just
Hmm.
their parents and extended family. So I try to give information, factual information to support them as well. So social media, the newsletter. I am starting to do some outreach work as far as doing speaking engagements as well.
Okay,
So
cool.
the biggest way to contact me though is on my website, which is oshunenergymedicine.com. So
Okay.
that's that's where I that's where everything starts, and I'm just gonna see how far I can take this, and I'm very, very excited.
Well, I'm excited to watch your journey and I'm going to sign up for your newsletter because I want to see how this unfolds for you. I think it's going to be really fun and exciting.
Yeah, it's been a lot of work, but it's
Hmm.
also been really enjoyable. I mean, the business launched back in July and things are gathering momentum now. So it's a challenge to
Hmm.
transition out of one career and transition into another.
Hmm.
And I'm kind of at the point where I'm ready to take kind of a little bit of a leap of faith, but it's going to be fine. It's going to be a good,
It's going to be good.
soft, warm landing. I think it's going to be good.
Yes. Well, I like to end each episode with what's your current I love it when for yourself or for the world right now?
Okay. I'd say I love it when we all pull together and realize that we have more in common than the few things that divide us. Because
Beautiful.
we really.
Hmm. Well, thank you so much for spending time with me today and time with the audience and just sharing about your journey. I very much appreciate it. I can't wait for people to hear this episode.
Well, it's been a joy, and thank you for asking me to do this. It's been a little
Hmm.
scary too because it's not something that I do every day. But yeah, I'm very happy to get it out there what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, which is basically to help people, which is
Hmm.
why I started doing medicine in the first place. So
Yeah. Thank you.
you're welcome.